Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's video. Today's topic is about an important step when getting organized and is often the most overlooked, and that is labeling. Labeling is so crucial when getting organized because it keeps things going back into the right place. And if you've got more than one family member at home, you're gonna want labels because then it puts everyone on the same page without questions. And we've all run into that scenario where we've had to go quickly, we're rushing out of the house or coming even home, dropping things off or whatever it might be. And if there's not a label on that bin, that's where the whole disconnect and snowball effect just kind of goes into play because you're just like, oh, it just happens once. Oh, there we go again. And before you know it, it all starts adding up. And that's why the disorganization happens. And that's where the frustration lies because you're like, oh, I've already organized this. How do we make this work again? So labeling is, and it's the last step and sometimes the longest because you're having to create the labels and figuring out what to label. And that's what we're going to talk about today is some tips on labeling, what to use, how to make the process smoother. So, and think of it like this. When you take a trip, you have directions to get there, especially if it's a place that you've never been to. And that's what labels are kind of like for your house. They are like your directions and your roadmap to keeping things going back to the right places. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to show you how we can simplify the labeling process and make it easy for you so you can create sustainable, lasting systems in your home. Okay, so the first thing that you really want to get when you start labeling is Post-its. We're not even going to get to the final labeling product yet. Post-its are great when you're in the middle of putting everything back together. They act as like your rough draft before the final lasting touches go on it. And they just give you a better visual of what needs to go where. They allow you to move it around if need be, but there's the sticky component on the back of it, so it will stay in a designated area rather than just like a piece of paper would if you wanted to put it on a bin or a container or things of that nature. So that is the first step, is using Post-it notes. The second step is to keep your categories broad. I'd like to always make it a goal, if possible, to only have one word per label. It does a few things. It keeps you from over organizing by putting too many things on there. And it helps you when you make different purchases throughout the year to kind of put that item in that particular category rather than feeling like you have to reorganize everything again. So you want to think in terms of like the grocery store or Target. When you're there next, take a look at the categories. You know, when you go down the shopping down those aisles, you'll look up and you'll see those categories. They're typically one word. So think like that when it comes to labeling and creating those categories and where you want things to go. Okay, so the next step is figuring out what type of label you want to use. And this is important because you're going to be looking at this often. So the font does matter. Now there are 3 ways to go about this. 1, you can use your own handwriting. 2, use a label maker. Or 3, use a Cricut machine. I do not have experience with a Cricut machine, so I'm not really going to even go down that avenue. I really stay in the space of handwritten and label maker. Once you have determined what type of label that you want to use, then it comes down to the font and what type of style and color you want to use and what you like. When it comes to the color, you want to think about it blending nicely with what you have. So for example, these white organizer bins, using black on here gives it a pop, but it gives you a nice consistent look. So you've got a white and black complement each other very well. So that's how you want to think in terms of what color label and what type style of label should go on there, because you want it to complement each other so it looks nice. Another thing to consider when labeling is the type of surface that you are labeling on. So for example, these drawer organizers are a flat surface, so it's easy just to take some label tape and stick it on there.
Now, there are a variety of bins out there, and you'll see in the next couple images that you can't write on them directly. It's not possible. They're not a flat surface. So there's alternatives of using clips and other type of labels on there to achieve a organized look and feel. Okay, so as I mentioned before, there's bin clip labels, and these are them. So you can see here that these bins are not a flat surface, and there are a variety of bins out there that are not flat where you're able to write on them. And this is why these bin clip labels are so wonderful, because you can actually put something on there so you know what's in there rather than just playing that guessing game that we talked about and shoving things in a bin, because it doesn't serve anyone well. These bin clip labels come in a variety of colors, so that gives you options to give you that aesthetically look and appealing look that can complement each other very well. So for this particular scenario, we've got the gray walls with the white bands and black. Those colors go great together, and this is why this works. They come in black, silver, white, and gold. So depending on whatever type of style and look you're trying to achieve, there are options out there for you to get labels on those particular bins or baskets that you're looking for. Again, I want to point out the one word category for the label on here, because it keeps it broad and keeps items going back to the right places. And then this system is set up for them to last in the years to come, because again, buying needs are different throughout the year. They're not the same all the time. So the broad categories make it a sustainable, lasting system. So for this particular scenario, we have toys. Toys are one that it can be a large beast to tackle, which is why keeping them broad, the categories, makes the biggest difference to have lasting, sustainable systems. One, kids identify better when there's not too much involved and it's effortless for them. So these simple categories of accessory, dolls, and clothes are as simple as 1, 2, 3. They either fall into this category. They don't have to worry about doing that extra sorting to make it sure it's done by brand, whether it's Barbie or LOL or American Girl. It all can go in the same area, and it's much easier to manage, and cleanup isn't a pain when it comes to putting those toys away. Okay, so another way to label is by a person's name. So depending on how many people you have in your house, this is a great option for people to take ownership. And this could work in a pantry, or even here in this scenario, a closet, where everyone just takes care of their own items, and that bin is dedicated to you and it is your responsibility. This works exceptionally well with young children because they want to have ownership and want things of their own and give them independence. And even if this could work too in the pantry, if you're looking to kind of get lunches packed up for the week or set things aside, organize it by name. Or if you even have children that have different, food allergies or can't have one thing and someone can have another, this way you can keep it easier to organize so they know that they can't have that, and that sort of thing. Another thing that's great about labeling with someone's name is the chances of it changing are not likely. So you're able to use this for quite some time. Okay, so in this scenario, we have labels that were used from a label maker here. And the reason for this scenario, for two reasons. One, with it being a young child, this way the font is a little bit more crisp and clean, but it's also they're smaller containers. And when it gets down to those smaller containers, writing smaller isn't always the easiest. So a great alternative is using a label maker. Again, from a complementary standpoint, went with the white because it looks nice with the color, and now everything is all set in place. You know where to find what you need quickly, and these also stack, which is great, which is why using the label maker is nice, because those bottom bins, you can't really see them. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But when you have a label on there, it makes it easy to identify what is in there. Okay, so here is another scenario of label maker being used. It's giving you the consistent font look. So with the black ink, it has the white label, so they complement each other very nicely on these clear bins that also have gray and white on them. So again, you want to think about the design of the bin and container, what colors are on there to figure out what color font is going to look nice. If you've got larger bins, what type of bin clip label is going to complement each other. Our brains love symmetry. We are attracted to it. That's what gives us that warm and cozy feeling. So having these matching bins here provides the symmetry, because if they were all in other items, they would be in multiple different packaging. And then the label is on the same location all the way across. It's very consistent, achieving that organized look and feel. Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on social at Organized Marie.